and he will come. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Exodus 14. Verse 15. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the Red Sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of Egyptians. I will harden the heart of Egyptians so that they will go in after them. And I will gain glory through Pharaoh and his army, though his chariots and his horsemen, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. So the Lord said this one to you, move on. There's something in your hand, something in your body that I'm going to make you to use so that God will harden the hearts of your Egyptians and all the enemies, that God will gain glory because it's going to make you to use what he has given you to use, the power of prayer and your faith, to destroy every Egyptian in your life now as we speak, in Jesus' name. So the Israelites were crying. They blamed Moses. Moses gave them confidence. The Lord said to Moses, why are you looking up to me? What is it in your hand? God asked him to stretch it forward so that something will happen. So in 19, then the angel who had been traveling in front of Israel's army withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved from in front and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and the Israelites. And see what happened now. Verse 23. The Egyptians pursued them, and all Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the Red Sea. During the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He made the wheels of the chariots come off so that they had difficulty driving. And the Egyptians said, let us go away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. And in verse, I believe, 27, it says, and the Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen. The entire army of Pharaoh had been followed Israel into the sea. No one of them ever survived. See, the God of Red Sea showed up. Every Egyptians that were following the Israelites drowned and died. Nobody, nothing, no person, no weapon survived. In Jesus' name. Every weapon of mass destruction against your life will not survive, will perish in the Red Sea, in Jesus' name. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Look at Daniel. Daniel, let's see Daniel 3:13. Daniel 3:13. See, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were put in the furnace of fire by King Nebuchadnezzar because they did not bow down for the statue that they made. And he told his soldiers to put those people in the furnace of fire. Daniel 3:22. The king command was so urgent and the furnace so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these three men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. But something happened. Is anything too hard for the Lord? These people failed to bow down for the king's handmade bronze statue. He put them in a furnace of fire, but God of fire showed up. Is anything too hard for the Lord to do? See, he said, then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there three men that we tied up and threw into the fire? Look, I see four men walking around in fire, unbound, unharmed, and the fourth looks like a son of God. 28 verse. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, praise be to God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angels and rescued his servants. Is anything too hard for the Lord? The answer is no. God will send you rescue angels. Whatever you've gone through, there's nothing too hard for the Lord. Nothing too hard for the Lord. Matthew 19. Matthew 19, 26. I'm closing, by the way. I'm closing. Jesus, Matthew 20, 26. Jesus looked at them and said, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. With man, it is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Right now, your situation may seem impossible because you are limited. You are short-sighted. Your power is given to you by God, so you are limited. God is the supplier of the power that you have. So things may look and shall look impossible, but to God everything is possible. To man it is impossible, but to God it is possible. To man it is impossible, but to God it is possible. To a man it is impossible, but to God it is the God of possibility.